How does one choose joy? Like, really choose it? How does one choose joy when the temptation is to hold on to anxiety, fear, or discontentment? This was a question I had 4 years ago that started in undoing and a beautiful unraveling in the best way. As a chronic people pleaser, overachiever, anxiety-ridden perfectionist, peace and joy to me was something that was reserved for the future. If I looked different, if I felt different, if I had a different brain, maybe more people to tell me that I was worthy, then I could be joyful. I've been reminded of this truth lately. What we reap is what we will sow. If I reap anger, perfectionism, control, and fear as a mom when my children are in their little years, won't that be what they reap as they get older? How many of us can say that we grew up in an environment where we felt truly delighted in? We saw delight and joy as a part of our everyday life, that we felt our company was desired, and that we received grace and understanding. I don't ask these questions to stir up resentment or old hurts. I ask them more as a reflection for myself, something to beg the question, what am I sowing? And is what I'm sowing in line with what I hope to reap? What am I sowing in my marriage, in the hearts of my child, in the way I spend my time? What seeds am I planting in the way that I look at my life? Am I looking around constantly, seeing what everyone else is doing over there, over here, envying her body, her clothes, their life, their house, their circumstances, their stuff, always craning my neck sideways, even though I know that it's actually looking up that yields a more joyful and contented spirit every time. In my life, forgetfulness has robbed so much joy. C.S. Lewis has a quote, "A pleasure is full grown only when it is fully remembered." I have countless examples of God's faithfulness, of joyful moments, of goodness I can remember. And when I remember, I see more of those in my present. And I tend to look for them in my future. What I saw actually as I minimized my physical belongings, when I started actually to create simplicity and space in my environment, was that I saw I had an abundance of things, truly. I was thinking I was living in lack, that somehow I did not have enough. Time, space, joy, peace, but I had an abundance of physical stuff, an abundance of things overscheduling my time, an abundance of commitments that I hadn't really thought through and truly chosen, an abundance of fears. I had a lot of abundance. It just wasn't the abundance of the things that I wanted. A woman I knew growing up told me a story of how her grandpa would collect dimes. He would just find them and collect them in his house in a big jar. And when she was a kid, that's what they would do together. And he taught her to look for them, and they would do it when they were together. And even after he passed away, she continued to do it into her adult life, to the point where every time I was around her, almost every time, she would find a dime. Whether we were at a park, a restaurant, no matter what, she just seemed to find them everywhere. And it's not because dimes followed her. It's because she had practiced for years the art of seeing and the art of looking for something specific. And because of that, she noticed something that most people walked right by. Practicing gratitude and looking for ways to cultivate delight and pleasure in your life, it's not about ignoring grief or pain. It's not an escape of suffering. I think it's a lot more about training your eyes or mind to see opportunities for joy, no matter what, and to be brave enough to take them. I mean, how rebellious of you to have a day of family fun in a season of grief, where you pause and just enjoy each other, or to enjoy your mundane, quiet life when the world around you tells you that you haven't done enough yet to do that. You haven't earned that right. To be at home in your body, to appreciate it for all that it's done, and to speak kindly to it, even when society tells you that you really can only do that at a certain size. I'm Christian, and it hasn't been until very recently that I realized that I have been operating under the idea that I needed to make my life harder than it needed to be. I don't know exactly why. Maybe it's because I thought it would make me holier. Maybe it's because I thought it would buffer me against the possible tragedies that I would face, and then it wouldn't hurt as much. Whatever the reason, I tended to walk around finding the hardship in every season. Not just finding it, but feeling justified about that. Like that's what I was supposed to do. And I was supposed to always choose to make things harder and to live in a hard season. And what inevitably happened was I attuned my eyes to constantly see negativity, lack, and scarcity. Playing out all the situations of how something could go wrong. Finding the downside in everything. Always having something that I could complain about. Finding it really easy to find things that I could complain about, but finding it really hard to find things to rejoice over. I am very much still in process about this, but I've been seeing more and more over the last year how broken this way of thinking is. Life already will have hardships. No matter how much money someone makes, no matter where they live, there will be grief and loss and sadness. So I am choosing not to demonize delight or to push away pleasure in my life. I want to admire creation. I want to savor really good food and take long walks with people or by myself and not be in a rush. Lately, I have been asking myself, am I making this harder or more complicated than it needs to be? Some examples of how I would consistently make my life harder was rushing everywhere, even when I didn't need to be. Overscheduling my life, saying yes to things that were out of alignment, ruminating about the future, usually constantly coming up with scenarios of how things could go wrong, refusing to take a rest day, refusing to rest in general, or taking everything personally, from comments online to my husband's simple forgetfulness or my daughter's behavior, making everything about me and taking it very personally. I don't feel guilty anymore about choosing delight. As a matter of fact, delighting in simple moments has become an act of worship to me, a way to attune my heart and my mind to the creator of beautiful and good things. This year is one of transition for us. Some of that transition I have shared, and some have been happening behind the scenes. And recently I was listening to a podcast interview with Sally Clarkson, and she said something that really struck me. She said, if you want to be a joyful person, it has to be planned and it has to be practiced. So many of us plan for disaster. We plan for worst case scenarios. I kept so many physical clutter items in my garage in my house actually specifically for that reason. But what if we planned for joy? What if we practiced it? What if we built it into the rhythm of our days, our weeks, our month? What if we decluttered all the unnecessary items, burdensome thoughts and lies, and fears that were stealing our joy? I spent a really long time not honoring my humanity, and I don't want to do that anymore. I want to lay in the sun. I want to soak up a good meal with people that we love. I want to tell God that I'm laying all of my fears at his feet and actually mean it. These are not luxuries to me anymore. They're necessities. They're how I choose joy.